Hi guys, it's Dawn from Creative Appliques. Welcome to my channel. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. If you are new here, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell so you're notified when I upload new content. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up so I know that you enjoy my content and want to continue to see more of what I have to say. So today's video is going to be about probably the most requested mask pattern ever. It is the contoured mask. So what this mask has to offer is the fact that it is contoured. Okay? So it fits nicely around the face, it has the arch, it goes under the chin, and it is customizable. Now let me tell you about why it's customizable. This mask that I'm wearing is a size large. The file will come with extra large, large, medium, and small. So 4 sizes of the mask. And you have the choice, if you wish, to put a filter pocket on the back, to add a filter in here, or one of these handy plastic things that you can slide in there and it allows it to hold its shape and stay away from the face. I'll talk more about that towards the end of the video. But there's also a place to add a nose wire if you choose. So, who's excited about this video? I know I am, so let's get started with the supplies that you need. Now let's talk about the supplies we need. So, we want to print out the instructions and then the pattern and cut the pattern for what you need, what size mask you're using. So I'm doing the large today. So we want to print those out and then cut the pattern pieces. Okay, if you have 2 hoops for the mask you're doing, it would be best to hoop tearaway stabilizer in 2 different hoops. If you don't, that's okay. You'll just have to redo the stabilizer. So tearaway stabilizer. Then you're going to want your fabric. So I'm going to use this for the front, and I'm going to show you how I cut it. Little fast way to do it to save some time and some work on your part. So I'm going to use this for the front. I'm going to use this for the back of the mask, and then I'm going to use this for the pocket. And normally, you could use all 3 the same fabric if you wish. I'm doing that just so it's easier for you to see on the video. Okay, so fabric cut to the pieces that you need. There is the option with this mask to do it just with the front and the back. So if you don't want a pocket, you don't have to do the pocket. And this is all written out and explained in the instructions, and as I'm going through sewing the mask, I'll try to tell you which steps are for which mask, but there's 3 versions. So one version is with just the front and the back. The second version is with the front, the back, and the pocket. And then the third version is front, back, pocket, and then a place to put the nose wire. So you will also need scissors and pinking shears if you have those that have the jagged, the zigzag edge on them. A rotary cutter if you have that and like that. Tape. I love painter's tape because it comes off very easily and tears away very easily but doesn't damage any of the fabric. If you're doing the pocket, you might want something like Steam-A-Seam or Heat and Bond Light, the thin pieces for along the seam. It's optional, but I like it. And then if you're doing the nose wire, you are going to want something for that. So either a pipe cleaner, So options are, you know, a pipe cleaner, or this is the floral wire they had at Dollar Tree. I don't know if they still have it. These are file folder fasteners is what they call them. And then this is from a coffee bag that you can use as well. You can also order these on Amazon as well. And then you'll want some ribbon. So I just have grosgrain ribbon in 1 inch, and then a lighter to seal the ends. But the lighter is really not needed because it gets all sewn down, and then the edges of the ribbon are inside the seams. And then elastic or t-shirt cut in 1 inch strips that you can use, or hair elastics, or anything to hold the mask on the face. So now we're going to cut the fabric. Okay, so for version 1, 2, and 3, you're going to need 2 of the front pieces cut, which this is also piece A, and then you're going to need 2 of the back pieces cut. So that's for version 1, 2, and 3, because you're going to need a front and a back for all of them. For version 1, if you're only doing the front and the back, you don't need piece C, so you don't need to do the pocket piece. So, and then if you're doing version 2 and version 3, you're going to need the piece C, which is the pocket. So this is all written in the instructions, but I just wanted to clarify it here. So if you're doing version 1, you only need 2 front and 2 back. If you're doing version 2 and version 3, you need 2 front and 2 back and 2 pockets. So essentially 4 of these and 2 of these. So we will go through now cutting the fabric. So I'm using this for my front. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the fabric, and you can either do it one of 2 ways. You can do the right side out, or so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 2 pieces at once, so it saves me time. But I want to make sure I'm not cutting, to show you, I'm not cutting 2 of these, 1 and then 2, because I need the right side. So when you cut it, you need to do 1 for the left side of the and 1 for the right side. So an easy way to do that is simply to take the fabric and fold it. So now this is going to be right sides together. Okay, so I have the right sides together here. So I have 1 piece and 2 pieces. And now I'm going to put this down, and I'm going to cut it. I'm going to cut the two pieces at once, okay? So right sides together, and I'm going to cut 2 pieces at once. So now with the pattern pieces, it might be easiest for you to make them out of cardboard if you're going to be sewing a whole bunch of the masks, and then that way, you know, you have something stiffer. Or another thing that's really cool to do too is you can go to Dollar Tree and get those plastic cutting boards that they have and cut templates out of that. That's really cool. Okay, so now this is the large, and I said 1 left and 1 right, but when I put the right sides together and I cut it, now I have 1 left and 1 right, and I cut them both together, so now I don't have to worry about doing it a second time. If you're fussy cutting though something with specific with fabric and you want a specific placement, you may want to do 1 piece at a time. Okay, so now for piece B, which is the back, we're going to take our fabric, and this is the right side here. So we're going to fold it, and we are going to cut the two pieces together at the same time. Okay, so now we have, this is piece B, and we have the left side and the right side cut now. And then I'll repeat the same thing for the pocket, because I'm putting the pocket on the back. So I simply have the two pieces here. You can see 1 and 2, right sides together, and we'll cut this. Okay, so now we have, this is going to be the pocket. So we've got a left and a right of piece C. This is going to be the back. We've got a left and a right of piece B. And then for the front, piece A, we've got a left and a right. So with piece A, which is the front, and piece B, which is the back, we don't need to prep them. After we've cut them, they're all done. Now, if you're going to be doing the pocket, let's go through how to prepare that. So this is where I like to use the Steam-A-Seam or the Heat and Bond Light with for the seams. And you want to make sure you have, going to take the right side is going to be down, okay? So right side down. And I'm just going to take a piece of the Steam-A-Seam here. And we're going to just guesstimate and just rip it off. So you want to make sure it's inside the, not extending over the ends here, just this amount that you need. So press it good first. And then I like to use this little tool here, excuse me, and do about, 1/4 to 1/2 inch. And then I like to take the edge here, just right here. Let's zoom in for you. And I'm going to take the Steam-A-Seam and I'm going to put it on the edge, right there, okay? Move the paper, and then I'm going to fold it over again and press it. Okay, so this gives a nice sealed end without having to stitch it. You can also, run it on your sewing machine if you want that nice finish. And then we'll do the same thing with the other side. So again, right side is down. And I'm going to fold it over about 1/2 to 1/4 to 1/2 inch. Now, one thing I wanted to mention too that you could use here as well, if you don't want to use the Steam-A-Seam, is you could get fray check, and you can just run a line of fray check along the edge of the fabric there as well. So that's another option too. Okay, so we press that down. We have our piece here of Steam-A-Seam. I'm going to place it just shy of the edge there because I don't want to get it all over my iron peel off the paper. There we go. Fold it over again and press it. So now we have the two C pieces, pocket pieces, prepped and ready to go. I'm going to take them and place them right sides together. And now we're ready to start stitching. Okay, so there are 3 versions of the design, and they are named CA, and then V1 for version 1 without the pocket, V2 for the version with the pocket, and V3 for the one with the pocket and the nose wire. So the one I am sewing today is the one with the pocket and the nose wire. So what I'm going to load is CA V3 A, large. And that will be the one that I'm sewing today. Okay, so that's the placement line. So now we're going to take piece A here, and we have the right sides are together, the wrong sides are out. So we take piece A and we're just going to line it up along the stitching. I'm going to place the piece right along the stitching, and then we're going to sew the next step. The next step to sew is the placement line for piece B, the back. So this is the placement line for piece B, the back. Again, we're going to take the 2 pieces, right sides are together, and we're going to line it up on the line. We're going to leave piece A there because it's not in the way, and we'll deal with that later. So place it along the stitching line, and now we're going to sew the placement for piece B. Now we'll sew the placement for piece C, which is the pocket. If you're doing version 1 that just has the front piece A and the back piece B, then you stop this design and go on to the next steps. If you're sewing version 2 and version 3 that have the pocket, you will continue on with sewing step 5. Now we have the C pieces, right sides together, which means the folds are that we prepped are here, okay? So the right sides are together. We will put the wrong side down, and we will line it up against the stitching again for the 3rd time, and we will stitch it out, the tack down. Okay, now that we've sewed piece A, piece B, and piece C down, we are going to remove the hoop from the machine. We are not going to unhoop the stabilizer. Leave the stabilizer on the hoop because we're going to use this hoop again. That is if you have 2 hoops. If you don't have 2 hoops, then you're going to need to put a new piece of stabilizer on it. But if you have 2 hoops, then you're able to leave the stabilizer on the hoop. So now we're going to remove these designs, these pieces from the stabilizer. Okay, so now we're just going to gently tear the design away, or the pieces of fabric away. Again, you want to leave, if you have 2 hoops, leave the stabilizer on this hoop, because we're going to go back and load this design again. There are 3 more steps that are part of that design to finish off the mask at the end. So now we're leaving this just like this with the stabilizer intact, and we're going to set it aside. Now, we are going to take all the pieces and we're going to snip in really close on the curved end. So the end here, this curve that has the stitching, we're going to cut in to make it lay better. And I just do little snips like this every inch or so, being very careful not to cut into this to the stitching. This is going to help it lay better, lay smoother. Okay, just like that. Right? So you want to do that for all pieces. So now that we've cut in on all of the pieces, you can, if you want to, use your pinking shears and cut a little closer to get rid of the raw edge here. Again, being careful not to cut the stitching. So if you go ahead and use the pinking shears, you kind of cut off the V's, but you just simply can't see them right now. But they are still there, and it's still cut in to allow the mask to lay nicely. So now that we've done that, we're going to press the seams. So I like to take it just like this and open it, and I'm going to press it from the right side. And it's kind of tricky, but you want to press so that the seams are all going to one side. It doesn't matter if it's the right or the left, just pick a side and do it. So just pressing in here to kind of smooth out the seam. So now you can see that they are here, and now to turn it over, you want them to be on the same side. And what this does is, it's, in the end, it's going to help eliminate some of the bulk that is on the front of the mask with the seams. So sometimes it gets a little spread out because of the way we cut in there, but essentially that's all you're going to do is just press that, and you want the seam all to one side. So for each piece you'll do it all the same. So with mine, this is my right side up, and I'm going to have all my seams on the right side here. Okay, so for version 1, we take the back piece, and this is right sides up, and we're going to take the front piece, piece A, and we're going to put them right sides together. So this is piece B. Piece B is in the back. Piece A is going to be on the top, okay? Piece B right side up, and piece A right side down. And we're going to just match up the edges and the seam. The entire seam matching up right now doesn't matter, just it needs to be at the top arch like this, and at the bottom line, straight line here. So that's where we need to match up the seams. So I essentially just take the two pieces and look to see where the seam is, and then down here the same thing where the seams are. And I'm going to take it, and I'm going to take a pin, and I'm going to put it over here in the center of the mask on one side, and then on the other side, just to hold it while I put it down on the hoop. So right sides together, just like that. Now, if you are doing version 2 and version 3 that uses the pocket, we have piece B is in the back, and then it's going to be piece C. So we have piece B right side up, piece C right side up. So right side of piece B is up, same thing with right side of piece C is up, and the wrong side of piece A is up. So there's your little pocket sandwich right there, like that. And again, we're going to match up the seam for the 3 of them, and then just pin it out of the way. We're not going to pin down along the edges. We're not going to pin anywhere around the edges right now, okay? Okay, back at the machine. So now we're loading the second design. So I'm going to load V3-B-large. We've loaded that. Now, a point to note is that the design is rotated in the hoop 90 degrees to the right. So this is the nose section here. This is the bottom or the chin section, and these are the sides of the mask. Okay, so we've loaded it, set the colors. We've loaded our second hoop to the machine. And now we're going to stitch out the placement stitch. Okay, so now nose with the curve, chin here, and the sides. So we're going to take our sandwich here that we made, and this is piece B on the back, okay? And we are going to line it up on this line, covering, take the fabric and just simply cover. So there's a little point right here. You can see it goes, it curves down here. We want to make sure that the stitching from this on the back here covers that and is at that point. And then we're just simply going to cover the stitching here. Okay, so there's all the stitching, and we're covering it, covering all the stitching. And we're going to tape it down. This is painter's tape, it's amazing. I'm going to tape it down just like that. Now, with this part here, you do not want to fold it over, because that way it's going to give a weird part here. So all we're going to do is kind of just smash it down, making sure that we have the stitching covered there. We're just going to smash it down and tape it. all we're stitching right now is the bottom, so we don't need to worry about any of this up here, okay? Just make sure it's out of the way of the stitching. Okay, so now we're going to sew a straight line here. Okay, so now that we've sewn this line here, don't worry about that it hasn't extended over here. The most important thing when you lay that fabric down is that this here needs to be where the point is of the curve. So the seams from the front of the mask needs to be where that point is. So we don't need to worry about this because this is going to help us later. So, okay, now that we've completed sewing that, if you are sewing version 1 that just has the front and the back, or version 2 that has the front, back, and pocket, you will then stitch the top part here. And the way to do that is the same thing. You want to make sure we have our seam is kind of at the center of the arch there, and you want to just smash the fabric down, and you can tape it. Most important thing is you want to make sure that all the fabric is covering the stitching here and over here, okay? And then you will sew the next step, which is the top part here. Now, if you're sewing version 3 that has the nose wire, we're going to take piece A and piece C, the front and the pocket, and we're going to just fold them back, okay? So now we have piece B here. And what we're going to do is make sure the seam is around the center of the arch here and flatten out the rest of the material. I'm just going to tape that down right there. And make sure all the rest of the material is covering the stitching. And again, I'm going to flatten this down and tape it. And it's going to sew the tack down for the back piece now. Okay, so the two little lines that stitched is where you're going to place the ribbons. So we have 2-inch ribbon here, 2-inch in length, it's 1 inch wide, and you just simply fold it in half, and we're going to tape it just covering the stitching. So fold it in half, the 2 inches. And then just cover the stitching there. And I tape it all the way down just to keep it. And then make sure you have this out of the way. Now we'll sew the tack down for the ribbons. Okay, so now that the ribbons have been sewn down, we are going to take the pocket piece and the A piece, and we're going to lay them back down. So now we need to have the seams match up again. So the seam here, the center seam of the nose, and the seam from the C and A pieces need to match up, and just flatten out the fabric nicely to cover, you know, the B piece and to cover the stitching. And again, you just want to smash this down. We don't want to take it and fold it. We just want to smash it down and put a piece of tape to hold it down out of the way of the machine, the presser foot, and all that. And then we're going to sew the top stitching. Okay, so now we are done with this design, number 2, and we're going to remove the mask from the hoop and trim it and turn it and iron it and on to the next step. Okay, so we can remove the mask from the hoop, and we don't need this hoop again, so it doesn't matter. Now, it may be a little tough to pull out initially because there's this stitching here that was just the placement stitching, and you could just snip that stitching. Don't cut the stitching from the actual mask itself, just that little bit of stitching. And I don't know if you are like me, but I kind of like to save as much stabilizer as I can. So a lot of times I will just take, if I'm going to, when I sew this mask again, I will simply just take another piece of stabilizer and either tape it over that, or a piece that fits, tape it over, or use just regular glue stick, and that way I'm saving a lot of stabilizer, all of this. Okay, just a little trick there, tip. All right, so there is the mask. All right, now we're going to trim around the mask, but please listen carefully. We are not going to touch these sides. Say it with me. We are not going to touch these sides, okay? We can trim around here and around here. We are not going to touch the sides, okay? So you could use pinking shears, but the one thing we need to do is here around the arch of the nose. We do need to trim in again with our V's, or just, you know, a straight stitch in, so that this arch lays a little smoother and flatter. Both sides. Just like that. Now, pinking shears. And I'm leaving this a little longer here because that just gets folded in and pressed. Okay, so now this is what you're left with. Okay, now we're going to take it and turn it. So through one of the sides here, it's going to turn it all the way out, pulling out the edges, sides, and now we're going to get our iron and we are going to press it very neatly all the way around. Okay, so now we have the front and then the pocket, and then the back is between. All right, so we're going to take it and we're just going to press it nice and crisp on the edges to get a good press for all of it. Now, if you have a sewing machine and you want to top stitch around the whole mask to give it a nice finished look, you can do that. It's not part of the in the hoop design, Unfortunately, there's only so many things we can do in a hoop, and when it's a three-dimensional pattern like this, it kind of makes it a little bit challenging. And now just push this all in here nice, and you can fold it all in half where the seam is and give it a nice complete press like that. All right. So now the next thing we're going to do is deal with the sides here, okay? So we take, now you have edges here that are left, okay? So we're going to take and press down. And again, I'm gonna use my steam seam, and I'm just gonna tear off a piece. So now you can do about 1/4 to 1/2 inch there, like that. And again, this is where you can use the steam seam, or you can use some fray check if you want. And all right. So now I'm just using this underneath here to keep it from fraying. I don't want to use too much because I don't want to seal this shut. So I'm going to bump this up to the edge here. And then, so I've pressed that down, and now you want to cover the B part here, all right? The back. You do not want to go as far as this because you will sew the pocket shut. If it happens on one side, that's fine. If it happens on both, that's not good, all right? So you want to leave it about 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch shy. All right, and now the next thing we'll do is be stitching this down, okay? Okay, so we repeat the same thing on the other side. We fold it in about 1/4, 1/2 inch. Press it. I have my steam seam stuff here. Open it back up, press it down on there. Now to note, you have this is the sides of the mask that are turned in, right there. Okay, so that's not a raw edge. We folded it. Okay. Wanting to be difficult, are you? Fold it there, and now cover up the back piece. And make sure you leave the opening here. I'm not covering the opening for the pocket. All right. And now one thing I like to do too is I like to tape it down just like that to hold it, because when we go to the machine, I'll show you why. Okay, back at the machine now, we're going to load the very first design that we had. So it would be CA V3-A is the first design that I used. We hoop and put our original first hooping on. There is the stitching you see from the piece A, piece B, and piece C that we did. Okay, we're back to the first hoop, back to the first design. And I just took a little bit of tape and placed it underneath so that when the machine is moving, these don't get caught and folded under. So what we are going to do now is skip ahead to step 7. All right, this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to skip ahead to step 7 and sew that now. Okay, so now we have the mask, and we have the sides pressed and turned under and pressed, I guess. All right, now we're going to flip the mask over right side up. This line here is the placement line. Okay, so we're going to place the fold, this fold, to the right of the line, center it. And we want to make sure that this part here is covering the line, okay? So you want to make sure that the line is going to go right here to catch this edge, all right? To catch this edge here to sew it down and under. So we just simply place it on top of there, making sure we have both sides caught in it, this fold and the underneath fold. The reason why it's done this way is if you turned the mask over and sewed it this way, you would have the bobbin thread on the outside of your mask. You would see the bobbin thread here. So we want to see the nice pretty top stitching, the colored thread with the top stitching on top on the outside. So that's why we've sewn it this way. Okay, so I've taped it down. Now this is something that totally can be done on a sewing machine, and it can be skipped, but I know some people don't have a sewing machine, so this is why I'm adding this. So like I said, it's important to make sure that you have both parts. This fold to the left of the line, this fold to the right of the line, okay? And then we stitch the next step. Okay, that side has stitched. Now we're going to do the other side. So fold back the mask, and here's the placement stitch here. And we are going to take this side and so this fold is going to go to the left of the stitching. This fold is going to go to the right of the stitching. And it's best if you can go as close to this fold here as you can to the stitching so that all of this gets caught in there. All right, this is the important part that you want to have caught in here. And you don't want to sew too close here because this is the channel where the elastics are going to go through. And I have it taped here. This painter's tape will come off really easily. So just center it on the stitching there. And tape it down. And we're ready to sew this side. The rest of the mask is all over there, out of the way. Okay, so now we're going to remove the design from the hoop. And that is just the placement stitching. And just cut that off. That's just that placement stitching that was there. And then remove the tape. So let me show you why we needed to make sure where we placed these specifically was so that this fold here, this part, got caught in the stitching, which you needed it to do. I probably could have done it even a little further over here, but you need to, that's why you need to be careful where you're placing that. So this part of the fold there for the side pieces gets caught in. And now you can see here you have the pocket that you can put a filter in. So now we're going to put in the elastics. And I like my hemostat forceps to help pull it through. And I like to have the one long piece around the neck and then tie it around the ears. So I just take the long piece and loop the short piece around itself. And this way it makes it adjustable. But it makes it super easy because I can have it hanging around my neck like this. And then when I need to put it around my ears, I can just slide it on my ears quickly and then have it off. So now let's talk about the putting in the nose wire. So I started using these coffee things, coffee bag sealers. And I'm really impressed with them because they feel more secure and they have more resistance, which means they will hold the shape better. I was using the file folder things, but I guess I don't wash them in my masks. I take them out before I wash them, but some people have left them in and said that they rust, but they also are flimsier than the coffee things, the coffee bag closures, which is strange to me because this is a piece of plastic and then two little wires here. But anyway, it's more secure. And so I have switched to using these. So now what I do is I should try to show you as best I can inside the pocket here. You have the little tabs here for, that's what these are for. So I stick it through there, and I'll just feed it into the rest of the, these are adhesive, so they got a little piece of paper on there. So anyway, feed it through that, and then push it through, and then all I do is I fold it, make a little fold in it, just like that, all the way around itself, but I catch it in the edge of the ribbon, okay? Catch it in the edge of the ribbon, and I have the fold going towards the front, so it's not going to be against my nose. So that's that side. And now you just have to put your fingers in there and kind of feel for the other side. And again, push it through there. Wish these weren't self-adhesive. I don't like the paper on there. Anyway, maybe some people like to adhere them. Let me know in the comments if you actually, stick it to the mask. So that's the other side, and then I fold it there. All right, so now that's inside the pocket. And you don't have any lines on the front showing you, that there's a nose thing in there, but then you can bend it to how you need it to fit your face, and it's securely in there. So there's the pocket back here. And one more thing. So you can use the filters in there if you need those and feel more secure. This is 3 layers of fabric already, just you know, making it like this with the pocket. It's 3 layers of fabric. But I did end up getting these, and I am really liking them. They are a soft plastic, so they fold easily, but you can slide this inside the mask, and it gives it a great shape, and it holds it away from the face. And it gives a snug fit too, so you may not even need the nose wire in there if you use these plastic face things. So that's another option as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you're new here and you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments if there's anything else I can help you with, and if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. That way I know you are enjoying my content, and I will continue making new content and uploading it. Thanks guys, and make your life creative.